Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. In this video I wanted to talk a bit about the Kaweco Original. I thought that this pen was a remake based on the name Original, but this is actually a new series of pens by Kaweco, and they describe it as originally Kaweco. So I think that's just an ode to its design, which takes some cues from some of their other models. This pen in particular is the 252 version, which just means that it has a number 6 size nib, as opposed to the 060 model, which has the smaller nib that you see on most Kawecos. This pen was $105 at Pen Boutique. I bought it here locally. This is an extra fine. Some of the other nib options went up to $120, and the nib options are extra fine all the way up to a double broad. They also have the 060 version, which has the smaller nib size that you typically see on the Kawecos, also extra fine up to double broad. The 060 version is about $20 or so cheaper than this version. So this is the nib. And this is the same nib that you'll see on the Kaweco Supra. And this is a fine. This is the feed. It did not come with a converter, but I bought one when I was at Pen Boutique. So it's a screw-in converter. And this is the Kaweco, what they call the large size. The large size converter. It also uses the short international and standard international cartridges as well. And it did come with one cartridge. So this is the box, and this box is a little bit bigger than what you'll see in the normal, like AL and AL Sports. So it's quite a bit bigger, and these are also metal tinned. This is actually either wooden or really hardboard. So that's it. You just have your instructions and warranty information. There's the empty cartridge that they put in there, and the sticker, and the plastic sleeve that it was in. And it did come, as I said, with an ink cartridge, and I put that with my stash of ink cartridges. I really wanted to try the Robert Oster ink that I bought with it, and this is Robert Oster Cities of America in Miami. So that's what I have in here. So that's the box. And compared to some sizes of some other Kawecos that I have. So you can see here. So we'll get this in frame. So we have the lily put here. We have the AL iridescent pearl. This is the iguana blue, the aurora. This is the AL, and this is the Hello Kitty edition. It's the original. This is a Kaweco Student 60s. This is a Kaweco Dia. This is a Perkeo, and this is the Supra. It is closest in size to, I would say, the Supra, which it also shares the nib size with. And I'll take the Hello Kitty out of here just to show you some size comparisons on that one in a sec. So here's the Supra, which is kind of like a big Lilliput on steroids. This is the Supra. And you can see it has the same nib. Take the cap off the back. I think the Super has maybe just a hair, it's just a hair longer, but the nibs are the same, feet are the same. So as far as posting this pen, it doesn't post very well. So it's not designed to post, I don't think. But if you really wanted to, just push it on there firmly. It will stay in place. It is pretty long when posted. But if you have bigger hands than this, posting may be a good option for you. Otherwise, it is going to be quite short for bigger hands. It fits in mine pretty well. I just wish it was maybe a tad bit longer. What I really wish is that they would have, like this model, just have a bit of more taper there, so it would go down to about there. I think that would be a good length, like just above the writing. That would have been a good length. But just something for you to be aware of if you like your pens to, you know, not in the crook of your hand. You just want it a little bit above. Just be aware of that. And in posting, I've, you know, just in that little bit, it's already, see, it's not designed to post. It's already some scuffs there. I don't know if you can see it. I've scratched it a little bit. So it is not designed to post. And I'll just compare it to the, Kaweco AL. So that's how they look side by side. So if you have an AL and you write with it like that, it's pretty much the same. So it'll feel like an AL or a collection, whatever you call them. That's how it'll feel in your hand. I don't write with these very often because I find them a little bit too small for me. But I do like them. I just don't write with them for very long. So as far as dimensions, this is 27 grams capped, 17 grams uncapped. The length of it capped is 126.2 millimeters or 4.97 inches. Uncapped is 122.1 millimeters or 4.81 inches. So I'll get into some writing samples and some final thoughts about the Kaweco Original. Let's see here. Zoom in a bit. Do my best to stay in frame. It's a habit. I want to post it, but I won't. So I write with my left hand. Today, the pen is the Kaweco Original. The nib is the fine stainless steel, and this is the 252. And again, it goes from extra fine up to double broad in both the 252 and the 060. Ink, as I says, Robert Oster, Cities of America. This is Miami. And this is the ink. It's a nice blue. It's a nice shading ink as well. There's no sheen or anything to it. And this is a firm nib, so you aren't going to get any line weight variation to speak of, but you will get some nice shading. As far as reverse, it's pretty nice in reverse. You can get some decent hatching. And again, this was a $105 Pen Boutique. But just know that at least for Pen Boutique, it went up to $120 for some of the other nib options. The 060 is about $20 less expensive, I do believe. So it's a nice, fairly wet writer, kind of in between actually, in between wet and dry. It's just a perfect medium. The nib does have a little bit of tooth on it, but fairly smooth all in all. I haven't tweaked it at all, but it's good for me, I think. Kaweco Original. Yeah, it feels pretty good. So I get my thoughts and pros and cons on the pen. So some pros, let's see. I would say it's a good weight. It's good weight. Not too heavy, not too light, definitely not flimsy. It's solid construction. This is a metal pen with a matte finish. It's a nice big nib if you like number 6 size nibs, which I do. And it's fairly smooth, I would say, with a nice amount of tooth. It's a reliable. I haven't had any issues with it skipping or anything. Some of my other Kawecos, I've had to, like the Dia and the Student, I've had to work with a little bit. And it just come with it does accommodate a full-size converter. Giving you a larger ink capacity than, say, the smaller ones, the smaller Kawecos ink. The gripping section are comfortable. There is no scratching. It's not slippery. See, it's not. These are very well done. And it has a matte finish that sometimes can be slippery, but in this case it's not. And it has understated looks, so it's not flashy. So this is a good office pen. And like I said, the matte finish is nice and silky smooth. The price is okay at $105. And it's easy to exchange these nibs. It just unscrews. You can just unscrew it and replace it with another Kaweco nib. Well, Kaweco number 252. The 060 does not, nib option does not fit in these. It has to be a 252 and vice versa. So that's about the cons. Overall, just a very good pen. You know how Kawecos are, just good pen. As far as cons, posting, as I stated, it does not post. So it may be too short for some with larger hands. And if you draw and you put the pen back here to draw, it may not work for you either. Nib may need smoothing for some. may need smoothing. I'm going back and forth on whether I'll smooth it. I kind of like the feedback, and sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I need to smooth it a little bit, but for now it feels good. You know, just know that you may need to work with it. It may have a little bit too much feedback and grit for you. And a side note, that's really all I have. Well, no, I'll go ahead and say this. Converter not included, of course. Not included. And my last, this is an anal con. I had to really work to get I always like my writing to line up with my nib. And so I really had to work with getting the converter screwed in just right. I will have to loosen the nib, tighten the converter, then put it back on and see where I am. So just a little bit of back and forth with that to get it to line up just right. So, but that's just me. That's not really a con. It's just something that if you're anal, you'll have to work around. But all in all, it's a good pen. The clip is pretty firm. And I'll show you the difference in nib sizes here. Again, this is, I think, a 060, and this is the nice big 252 nib. So that's all I had to say about the Kaweco Original. I'm enjoying it. Just trying to get used to it being so short, but it feels good in the hand. It's a nice, compared to this one, has a little bit of more of a girth to it. I do believe the 060 is also a little bit smaller in size. So, but yeah, that's the Kaweco Original. Nice pen. Decent for $105. These others, the Kaweco, the Supra, I think it's less than 100. These are both around 80 to 90. The Kaweco is like 17 to about $20. And these all vary in price. This is actually the most expensive one, and I got this from the Trufe collector's box. This is not a pen that I would have bought, and definitely I wouldn't have paid $186 for it. But yeah, that's the most expensive one. And then yeah, the Kaweco is, and the Iridescent Pearl are the less expensive ones. But the Kaweco writes really well. And for comparison, I just had this Moonman T1. So the Moonman T1 is also a good option if you want a very nice writing pen that has a nice ink capacity. And it does write nicely. Very smooth, and this is also a fine point. So, but that's a side note. This is the Kaweco Original. Very nice pen. Very nice design. Kind of based on this little AL here. But again, thank you all for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Until next time, everyone take care.